Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Okay, hello everybody, how you doing today? Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the way that this investigation went. And why there are certain indicators that show that there was a clear underlying guidance, whatever, guiding these investigators, and it's really not hard to figure out. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is Brendan, of course, and how the investigators came to target Brendan. Well, the Dassey boys at first, and then they kind of honed in on Brendan. All right, so to explain a little bit of what's going to happen here, I'm going to show you how the investigators, who were like obviously less than thrilled with the evidence that they had collected or had been collected so far. Actually, when I say they collected, they actually never collected any. Every piece of evidence was found by Manitowoc officers, pretty much. So, yeah, not their evidence, but any, the evidence that had been found was having issues, was having credibility issues, was, it was just the nature of the case. Who knows why they didn't remove the conflict of interest as they said they were going to. But then again, if they had actually done it, maybe all the evidence wouldn't have got planted. So, whatever the case may be, the point is they felt their case was not as strong as they would like. We'll just put it that way. Not as strong as they would like. I would say it had holes in it big enough to drive a Mack truck through. But to each their own. So, they're feeling insecure about their case against Stephen Avery. In February, they are questioning Jody Sikowski, who is in lockup, basically. She's in jail because, well, she has a drinking problem. She is, she suffers from, addiction. So that should tell you something right there. The evidence wasn't quite what they hoped, or wasn't as strong as they hoped. So now they're over interviewing Jody. Okay? I don't have any of the transcripts from that right now. But what I do have is I have the order where she filled out the paperwork to prevent them from coming to visit her anymore on February 24th. She got the form from the jail and filled it out to say that she was denying them access to come and talk to her or whatever. Okay, so I have that. Then we know that between the 24th and 27th is when they decided to target the Dassey boys. And that's when they had them all at the Fox Hills Resort. We have no videotape of any of that, no anything of what happened there. We don't know. We just don't know what happened over an entire weekend. And then suddenly on Monday, they're going and pulling Brendan out of school in the morning. Here's another little lie that they like to tell. It drives me crazy. Absolutely drives me crazy. They say that they gave Barb the chance to be there. They say that she declined. This has always bugged me. Okay, how many people here would say you're declining to be there if you have to be in court that day? You have divorce proceedings, but nevertheless, it's a court date. Okay? She didn't think that anything was serious with Brendan. They just spent the weekend at a resort, and right? So she goes to her divorce proceedings. They're saying that she denied she declined the opportunity. I think that is a horribly inaccurate statement. hugely inaccurate. Just in the same way that they represent the control question, which many of you have already heard me talk about at great length. But, you know, the point is that it's dishonest. So, she had to be in court that day, and as soon as she got out of court, she was down there, and even then, they were obstructing her, you know. So, and that's the way the stories, you know, have come out about that, really. So it always just infuriates me when I hear them saying that she declined the opportunity. She had a court date. Anyway, so we know that they then turned their eyes on the Dassey boys. Well, the thing is you got to see how craven these Wiegert and Fassbender are. I mean, you've seen it in Brendan's interview, but when I'm going to show you what I'm going to show you right now, you're going to see that even after the coercion of Brendan, they were still like craven. I say craven because that's like the best word for it. They were just like a you know, going after you know, the weakest individuals, those with substance abuse problems, those with mental limitations, going after those people with extreme gusto. You know what I mean? They're and not really properly. And you'll see what I mean, because when you see some of the questions that they ask Jody, and they tell you that they when they start to talk about the subject, you're going to see it's so weird, creepy, uncomfortable. I mean, it's very strange. But when they start introducing the topic, they talk about how they talked about it with her before. And then I went, ding! Oh, that's why she filled out the paperwork and denied them to be able to come see her. So we'll let everybody else, you know, here make that determination for themselves, obviously. But the way that they're going after Jody shows how craven or, you know, obsessed, for, you know, to use another word that people might understand, but obsessed with getting Jody to say bad things about Stephen Avery. And even when she's not really wanting to, when she's answering them in a way that they don't like, they continue to push to try to get her to say what they want. It's very much like the interview with Brendan. So it's very, very odd. And like I said, dude, the subject that you see them go into is just, wow, uncomfortable and very, very creepy. So right now what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you the page from CASO, the Calumet investigation reports, where it says that they received a, you know, correspondence basically that's telling them Jody Sikowski has, you know, denied the investigators the ability to come in and talk to her. So we're going to show you that first with a date that's there of that happens, so that you know that it's just before the Fox Hills weekend, right? And then we're going to come on back and I'm going to talk to you about the interview that they have with Jody in August of 2006, which is basically about 5 months after the coercion of Brendan Dassey. So and then we're going to see the things that they say there. So here we go. All right, this is a CASO report from February 27th, and if you remember, that's the day that the first day that they interviewed Brendan. Okay, so this is a report of Jody Sikowski telling basically law enforcement, I don't want to have any more law enforcement come and interview me about Stephen Avery. So that's what this is here. We'll go through it real quick. Type of activity: receipt of correspondence from Jody Sikowski on 2/27/06. Investigator John Dettering. Investigator John Dettering. 1 page of correspondence from Jody Sikowski. On Monday, February 27th of 2006, I, Dettering, did receive an envelope from the Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department addressed to the Calumet County Sheriff's Department, Detective Division, care of John Dettering. This envelope had been transported from Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department by Deputy Rogers. The envelope contained a Manitowoc County Jail request form from Jody Sikowski. addressed to the jail administration. On the request form was written, "I prefer not to have any more detectives visit me in regards to Stephen Avery. I want to decline all visits upon release. I'm under way too much stress at this time and really need this, please. Thank you." This is signed Jody Stokowski, dated 2/24/06. The envelope, along with the correspondence, can be found incorporated into the exhibit section of this incident. John Dettering, investigator. Now, interesting thing there. You guys see? You see that? She actually she actually filed this paper on the 24th, 3 days before they went after Brendan. So, yeah. So they clearly had nowhere to go. They basically were stuck now. The only thing that they could try was to go after the Dassey boys. So that's the interesting part there. Okay, so there you clearly see Jody cut him off on the 24th. Between the 24th and 27th, they knew now they could no longer try to talk to Jody and get Jody to say things to help incriminate Stephen. So they figured, okay, well, let's check out the Dassey boys. So just showing everybody that. Now, you're going to find out that, I mean, pretty much I think you're going to see here why Jody sent them packing. Okay? I think you're going to see here. But first, I want to show you a few things. Okay? In this interview that they did with Jody in August of 06. Okay. I'm going to show you the bit right now where it shows how they approached Jody. Jody was in some kind of rehab center or whatever, and she was able to go out to work. And she's basically coming out of the secured area, and, she sees Mark Wiegert. She sees him, recognizes him, and as soon as she comes through the door, she actually says to him, "Oh, I guess you're here to talk to me," or whatever. And so they kind of like, they're all like, "Oh, well, if you would like to talk to us, you can." Kind of, they're all, like all tentative and just, like trying to be kind and whatever, right? So, I mean, you totally understand what's going on, right? Because they're afraid to approach her because she has already filled out a paper once before stating that she didn't want to talk to them anymore. So they were naturally apprehensive about how she would feel about seeing them. It makes sense to me. So they're kind of approaching her in this way. So you'll see that real quick here, and then we're going to show you. We'll show you one other thing to just kind of show you some of the tactics that they were using. I mean, I think it's important to see that these guys were very, very seriously trying to manipulate the situation. So here we go. All right, here we go with the beginning of the interview. So basically explains how it came to pass here. So interview of Jody Stokowski on 8/31 of 06, which is August 31st of 2006 at 10:30 a.m. at Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department. On 8/31/06, I, Mark Wiegert of Calumet County, went to the Manitowoc County Jail at approximately 10:20 a.m. I did go into the lobby of the jail. Approximately 3 minutes after arriving in the lobby of the jail, I observed a female that is known to me by the name of Jody Stokowski walking out of the secure portion of the jail and the lobby. When Jody walked out, she immediately recognized me and said, "I suppose you're here to talk to me." At that time, Jody and I both walked outside. I asked Jody if she had a few minutes, if she would be willing to talk to me. Jody then requested that I provide her with a cigarette, which I did. Jody then stated that she had a few minutes but could not talk long because she had a ride waiting for her. I informed Jody at the time that she was not under arrest and did not have to speak with me if she did not want to. Jody indicated to me that she understood this and still agreed to speak with me. While standing outside, I told Jody that we would go up to the investigators area in the sheriff's department so that we could sit down and do the interview. Jody agreed to go with me to the sheriff's department at that time. Upon arrival at the sheriff's department, I did meet with Jody in an interview room, which is which is audio, videotaped. Again, when I met with Jody, I informed her that she was not under arrest and she did not have to speak with me, and she could get up and leave at any time. Jody indicated she understood this. The following will be a transcript of the videotaped interview of Jody. Wiegert: all right, so when did you get put in? Jody: Tuesday. Wiegert: Tuesday? I just want to make it clear to you, you're not under arrest or anything. Jody: no. You don't have to talk to me. You understand that. You can get up and walk out any time, okay? Why don't you just try the door there just to prove? I'm not worried. Okay, so you can walk out of here any time. You know that. Yeah. You don't have to talk to me. Yeah. All right. 31st today already, huh? Mm-hmm. Okay. You want me to show you the phone calls first? Yep. And see how many there are? Well, there's probably quite a few, Jody says. What they're talking about is Stephen Avery's phone calls. Jail phone calls. And what they're about to do is play a few back for her. I find that shocking that they're using prison calls in such a way, but anyways. Yeah, there is. I suppose now it's shut down on me because I was sitting here too long. See if it comes back up, or I gotta restart it. Looks like I gotta restart it. So whatever he was linked into to be able to get the recordings, he's having to restart whatever it is that he's using. Jody's laughing. Wiegert: so a minute or two making noise. That's a good thing. Jody: yeah, it is. Me and computers usually don't get along very well. Jody says no. Wiegert says no. Jody: I'm good with computers. Wiegert: are you? Jody: yeah. And seeing I got you here. Wiegert: sure. Can I come down there and get my stuff? Wiegert: come down where? Jody: wherever you have my stuff. Wiegert: what do we have of yours yet? Jody: Chilton. Wiegert: do you know? Jody: the bed, a lot of stuff in the filing cabinet, my dog's ashes, if you still have those. If we took it, we have it. Jody: my daughter's grass skirt, and I don't know what else. I've seen a list, actually, of everything you took. I've never seen a list of anything you took yet. Well, why don't you do this? Put together a list of what we or you think we took. And Jody says, mm-hmm. And I'll see what I can do about getting that back for you. How's that? Jody says, okay. Wiegert: all right. Come over here and take a look. This thing's shut off, 667. That's all Debbie's. Jody: mm-hmm. I guess that's referring to the phone number. So he's saying, here's the dates. There's, 2 calls on the 15th, 3 calls on the 16th, and then there's 2 calls on the 17th, 3 on the 18th again. And that's as far as I've got. I got another one, but I didn't bring it along. So I'm assuming these are like some kind of digital recording devices that he's got these calls recorded on or something. But anyway, they're going to play some back. Jody says, okay. Wiegert: matter of fact, up until the day before yesterday, he had made a phone call to her. Jody: yeah, I believe it. Wiegert: you want to listen to any of them, or? Jody: the last 2. Wiegert: okay, we'll put the last one on here and see what it sounds like. Jody listening to the conversation, obviously, while the rest of this happens. Jody: so she's taking him money, huh? Why would he ask me to bring him money then? Wiegert: she's taking him money? Jody: well, good. She can keep taking him money. Wiegert: want to keep listening, or is that enough? Jody listening on the phone conversation. Jody: that's good, I guess. Jody listening to the phone conversation. Wiegert: well, I just thought you should know what's been going on. Yeah, 'cause I had a feeling he was talking to her. So this is now Wiegert now getting involved in Jody's relationship with Stephen Avery and like playing like the tattletale to make Jody mad at Stephen, right? So the reason why I point that out is because after that little exchange you see there, folks, you agree with me that Jody had every reason to be upset with Steven and possibly say bad things about him, right? You would say that. I would say that that's something that they clearly tried to do because they wanted her to be angry with Steven, I would think. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, so we've got a couple things going on there, okay, that I want to point out. Number one, as I was saying before, the way that the whole meet happens. Okay. So, you know that Mark Wiegert had to be there waiting for her to come out. Like, he knew what time she went to work, probably, and was there waiting in that lobby area or whatever, where she came out of the secured area. Okay? For those of you who are saying, no, maybe he was just there for something else. For some other reason, you know, maybe he had another person he had to see there. No. That would be possible. I might be able to go along with that if Wiegert didn't come locked and loaded with Steven's calls from prison. It shows why he was there. It shows intent. So we know he went there to stand in the lobby because obviously there was a tension. She had filed paperwork in the past denying investigators to come and question or talk to her. So that explains that whole situation. So we know that the last time that they spoke had to be back before February 24th. Right before they targeted the Dassey boys. Okay. The other thing there is, did you see how they were using those phone calls to try to get Jody mad? Okay? I'm not here to get involved between Jody and Steven's, relationship, which, it's just that's not what I'm here for. So the point is they were making a very concerted effort, highly concerted effort, to put Jody in a state of mind where she would be willing to say nastier or negative things about Steven Avery. That's kind of what you can kind of clearly see there, right? Now we're going to move into the clip where we find out some of what was talked about prior to February 24th of 2006. And like I said, it's a little creepy, a little awkward, it's interesting. So, here we go. All right, this is from an interview with Jody. This is actually in August of 2006. So it's after Brendan's confession, and she walks out and goes, "Oh, you must want to talk to me." So she agrees to talk to them, and she begins to talk to them. This is part of the conversation. This is what I'm talking about with Wiegert, where it's just ultra creepy. And I mean, they're digging for, they're desperately digging for anything, and you'll see what I mean when we go through this here. So like I said, this is in September of 2006. Let me ask you this, and this might be kind of embarrassing for you, but we've talked about this already. From my recollection of the last time we called, and again, I haven't looked at those reports or anything in a long time, but my recollection of when we talked the last time is Steve had, for lack of a better word, quite a healthy sex appetite. Is that correct? Jody says, mm-hmm. Wiegert. And from my recollection, you'd say that he would want it 3, 4, 5 times a day. Is that true? Jody. Mm-hmm. When we first started dating 2 years ago. Wiegert. Okay. Tell me about that a little bit. I mean, put it in your own words. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I don't know. When we started dating, 2 years ago, it was right after he got out of prison. Okay, Wiegert says. We always had sex like 5 or 6 times a day. Was it? Were you always willing to do that?
Jody. Yeah. Wiegert. Okay. Again. Jody. And then later on, it just slowed down, like it happens to do in most people's relationships. Okay. Again, this might be kind of embarrassing, but 3, 4, 5 times a day. Ever get sore from that? Like, he's now fishing to try to turn their healthy sex life into Steven abusing her. You know, like he's fishing. He's just fishing. I mean, at this point, you've coerced a 16-year-old kid, dude. And now you're picking on a person who suffers from substance abuse, in this case, alcohol. And you're now trying to browbeat this person into saying, you know, something that they don't want to say. You know, it's pretty obvious, but, you know. So she says, did you ever get sore from that? She says, oh, yeah. And Wiegert says, and you'd still be okay with it? And Jody says, yeah. Wiegert, he didn't care if he was hurting you at all? Or, Jody, I don't know. Did you ever tell him, did you ever tell him, you know, maybe not today, Steve, it's kind of hurting. Did you ever tell him anything like that? I mean, seriously, think about, you know, Wiegert's questions here. It's just, ugh. I think I did. I know whenever I did say I was hurting, that he would stop. Wiegert, okay. And he stops that line of questioning there. And it's very clear why. He is desperately fishing for something to use against Stephen Avery. And just like with Brendan, he's willing to, you know, manufacture it. So, he was willing to push Jody to say what he was hoping that he wanted her to say, that he was hoping she would say. It's, you know, this little exchange has always been quite disturbing to me. And to my mind would also explain why Jody told them to go away before. When back in February, right before they went after Brendan. I can imagine that maybe stuff like this is why she told them to go kick rocks back then. Just a hunch.
Okay, so what that last clip shows us is kind of a glance into what they were questioning her about back in February and stuff, when she filed the paperwork to keep them away from her. So, can't say I blame her. Can't say I blame the fact that she blocked them back in February. Because clearly Wiegert introduces that conversation by saying, because we talked about it before. So, yeah. So this shows, to me, a clear progression. The investigators are going after a substance abusing female who's, you know, they hoped would be kind of easy to push around or get to say, you know, or that they could get her to say something about Steven that they could use, you know. But then she tells them to go away. And then what do? They focus on the Dassey boys. So they go from a woman who's a victim of, or who is in the throes or in the clutches of substance abuse to try to get their case. That gets blocked. So then they go after the Dassey boys, the juveniles. So, and then that's when they hone in on Brendan. And, you know, they started feeding him facts on the 27th. They were already feeding him facts on the 27th. Who knows what happened at Fox Hills? We have nothing from Fox Hills. At least I haven't seen anything from Fox Hills myself, anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's literally so much missing there. Just an entire weekend that we just really can't count for. And then suddenly on Monday they're getting Brendan out of school and they're, you know, fact feeding some more and, you know, telling him that they're like his dad and all those things that they did. Manipulating him, psychologically conditioning him over the course of that interrogation, which becomes also oh so clear in the control question, because he acts the same way on the control question that he acts with the other questions, because he doesn't know it's a control question. Proof. for me, it's really the biggest proof in a lot of ways of how innocent Brendan is. But the whole thing we see here is these investigators, going after, these investigators are going after Brendan, get Brendan, coerce him, no conscience, and move on to actually attempting to approach Jody again and raising that line of questioning that you just saw. So this is just part of my problem with the case. The way it went, the way that things unfolded, it shows a clear, intent by the investigators. They were not open to what the evidence was speaking. They were looking for the evidence that fit their narrative. That's why they had to coerce Brendan, because they realized that their case was weak. See, it's a problem when you don't have any trace of the victim's blood or anything, and you're claiming like this raping and stabbing and hair cutting and everything, and you have not one single trace of this victim from all this carnage. And I mean, it's non-existent. So yeah, they were feeling, they were lacking confidence in terms of the case and the evidence. And when you watch the way that they go through, basically trying to pick off the weakest, I compared them to a pride of lions, the Wisconsin pride of lions there, the Schimmel, all of them, Kratz, and all of them, Lautenschlager, Fallon, all of them. Yeah, think about how lions hunt. Do they go after the biggest and the strongest wildebeest? No. They go after the sick, injured, juvenile, elderly wildebeests. Ones that are showing signs of weakness. Right? And that's almost exactly what they're doing here, going through this investigation. Going from just citing the next week, subject, and then honing in on it. And yeah, I mean, clearly see the progression of it. It's just to me absolutely shocking. There may be some people out there saying, "Oh yeah, they found Teresa. Her DNA was on the bullet." Yeah, the bullet. This bullet that was supposed to be there. If it's the bullet that killed Teresa, you can't. I mean, you got to use logic here, folks. If it's the bullet that killed Teresa, then that means that bullet had to be in the garage when they jackhammered the crack in the floor. When they jackhammered that crack in the floor, dust got everywhere. Everywhere. All over everything. Okay? Suddenly the bullet shows up after the Brendan Dassey coercion, when they get a warrant the next day to go back into Stephen Avery's garage, where they had pushed very hard they had pushed Brendan very hard to say things happened in the garage. He did not start saying things happened in the garage on his own. He actually, because they were prodding him to say that things happened in the garage, he ended up saying that they killed Teresa in the garage, which wasn't the way he had said it the first time. The first time he said that they had killed her out, they shot her out by the fire pit. But because they were pushing him to say that things happened in the garage, that's one of the things that he said. Suddenly this bullet pops up on March 2nd. It's sitting on top of the concrete dust on the floor. It's literally sitting on top of a vein of the dust, and it is shiny. Okay, anybody that knows anything about concrete dust, when it hits a metal surface, when that dust is on a metal surface or anything shiny, the concrete dust makes it look dull. That's what concrete dust does. It'll make anything shiny look instantly dull. And that bullet you see sitting on top of the vein of the because there's like little veins of dust. It almost looks like kind of like rivers on the floor of the dust, and this bullet is like sitting on top of one of those. Shiny. It even has like a bowl shape kind of on the top side of it, and there's no dust on top of it, held in that little bowl shape. It's seriously just as suspicious as every other piece of evidence in this case. It's absolutely out of place, and because it doesn't have the dust that should be on it. Anyways, so it's just another thing with this case, but that's why I had to point out, the way that these investigators were targeting their prey. So that's about it for today. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.